4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Jason J. Daniels Show. I'm having way too much fun. This is just agua, okay? So don't get all worked up thinking I'm having a cocktail in the evening, which it would be perfectly fine to have a cocktail because it's like 6:18 my time. But welcome. I'm in California. Welcome to the show. I'm just laughing. I'm laughing because finally some justice in this cruel world. I'm sure you have heard the news. If you haven't heard the news already, breaking news on Jimmy Kimmel, and it's related to Charlie Kirk, of course, directly related. I'm podcasting every night, almost every night, to talk about the developments with Charlie Kirk and everything going on with the assassination and any breaking news that's interesting. Things are changing, man. Things are changing. And what I think is awesome is that free speech is actually a legitimate and real and vital conversation in the marketplace. You can call it that. It's the marketplace of ideals. And sometimes, and in most cases, I think free speech not only affects the politics, the political body, the marketplace of ideals, but it also affects the financial marketplace, the legit commerce marketplace, ultimately your pocketbook. And if you're Jimmy Kimmel, probably your future advertising, your future pocketbook. This is going to cost this cat some money. So we'll jump right to it. He's fried. So if you haven't heard the news, he learns the hard way. Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Kimmel Live, I guess it's a package deal. I don't know. If you watch one, you watch the other, have been pulled by ABC indefinitely. And this is off the heels of comments. I believe he made it last night. Yeah. On his show where he was mocking the death of Charlie Kirk by mocking the reason. He was mocking the reason why Charlie Kirk is dead. And God damn it, it's a hot button issue. It really is. And for people to get on their platforms when they have completely created a history of hateful content, hateful comments, all they do is attack the president, they attack the White House, and ultimately they attack the half of the country, right? Half of the American people that voted for Trump, and there's even more people that are moving that way, who are sick of the Democrat Party and sick of the anarchy, the Antifa, Antifa conversations, the fiery speeches from these left-wing loons that are completely counterproductive to the nation. And people are feeling that. They're over it. So people have been over this for a long time. In fact, I don't even know how people think he's funny right now. I thought he used to be funny when he was doing comedy. But he's not doing comedy now. He's doing political rhetoric, and they lost the election. They're losing small elections around the country. They're losing the argument. What is it? 13%, 20% of Americans even like the Democrat Party. They're losing America, and here we go, right? We're just going to, now he's going to continue to barrel into the Charlie Kirk controversy, the murder, the assassination, with just really poor taste. Now, keep this in mind. He wasn't pulled for a joke. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to show you the clip. He wasn't pulled for a joke. He made a political statement that was essentially news misinformation. He said something that wasn't true. I'll play it for you. I can only play a couple of seconds. I got to keep it under 30 because YouTube will pull me. Twitter won't, but YouTube will ban my page and give me a strike. So I'm going to count the seconds, but I think the clip you need to see is just enough. So we'll jump right to it. It's completely ridiculous what he said, and he said something that was totally not true. Let's see here. Let me jump to okay, cool. So now you see my screen. So there's Jimmy doing his thing. We're gonna jump to X because this post really is very concise. So let's let me play it for you.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang.
Here's what he said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half.
There you go. That's all you need to know. Let me shut this down so I don't, and let me move off of that so I don't get copyrighted. I will show you what Trump said. Okay, so we'll go. Let me go back to. Let me stop sharing. So you heard that. The sound was a little low. My apologies. But he said the MAGA gang is trying to find a way to take Tyler Robinson and pin him on the Democrats, disown him, because it was a MAGA guy that assassinated Charlie Kirk so brutally in front of his family and in 4K in front of the world. Are you fucking kidding me? Of course that's misinformation. He said this right after everybody was reporting it was a left-wing, radical, trans activist, hate-filled, furry video gamer guy who specifically said he wanted to kill Charlie Kirk because he thought Charlie Kirk was full of hate and he was hateful and he had conservative values and all these things. His mom even rolled over state's evidence and said he's swinging so left and so pro-gay and pro-trans, we were very concerned. Okay, so I don't even know if it's really a MAGA family. The news is trying to tell us it is. I do know that there was a statement in the press conference, which I watched it twice yesterday, maybe 3 times. And in the press conference, the public defender or the attorney general, whoever is doing the charges, mentioned that they reported that the father was very MAGA, which drove Tyler the other way. Okay, dad might be MAGA. Apparently they're Mormons, I guess, and that's an interesting controversy. Are we even going to look into that? How the Mormons, the Mormon faith might even be commingled in what Tyler was upset about. I think that's a question for later on, but it's clearly not true that the MAGA thing. They're trying to pin the MAGA thing on conservatives. It's just not true. Now I gotta do a sound check. Sorry about that. I forgot to do my old sound check here. Here we go. Sorry about that. I have to check my sound. I'm my own producer here. So Jimmy Kimmel was fried, not live. Jimmy Kimmel fried. That's his new brand. He's totally cooked. And if there isn't any other message that you're going to get out of this, whether you like him or not, well, here's the message. Money conquers all. Commerce conquers all. I'll show you the memo that hit the internet. It's all over Twitter that was issued. ABC's reasoning, or the parent company that owns like all these stations, like a massive amount of stations. So I guess the majority of stations are like, we're pulling this cat indefinitely. What that means, I don't know, but as far as the time frame, but where I was going earlier with the whole Tyler, is he MAGA, is he not? We know he's not. And my, I guess here's my commentary. Why was Jimmy Kimmel pulled? It had nothing to do with free speech. He used his free speech, but said something that was complete misinformation on a network that prides itself on truth, right? And Trump has been suing the fuck out of everybody. Everybody gets sued. Everybody's getting sued by Trump. He does not give a fuck. He could be the most, like the most litigious president in history, at least against like private companies and the media. Now, obviously, the big 3 networks are very commingled into our government. I mean, hell, a lot of these TV shows actually that do CIA stuff and spy stuff, military stuff, they have deals with the CIA and NSA and the FBI, and they consult for network TV. There's a lot of propaganda that our government puts into television shows. Yes, it brings a sense of realness. I'm cool, but you have to really be careful about that. Now, I don't know so much about the Trump administration now, but we know the Biden administration was doing that for the last 4 years, really partnering with local TV to actually send messages that are very political and subliminal. Okay, propaganda. So the reason why, in my opinion, Jimmy Kimmel got the axe indefinitely is he's going to get them sued. And Trump even Well, I'll read you his tweet. It's pretty funny. Trump even chimed in right away because he pays attention. Trump goes home to the White House, guess he's home when he's working. Trump watches a bunch of TVs. If you haven't figured this out, Trump is watching everything in the news. He's on top of this stuff. And he watches these, he has everybody report to him what is said to him on these shows. So it wasn't free speech that cost Jimmy Kimmel this I guess his time spot, his show, his slot, who knows. I'll just say it wasn't free speech or him exercising his free speech that caused him to be suspended. It was propagating a lie. It wasn't true. It's not true. This baby demon Tyler is not even close to being MAGA or even conservative. And even if they're trying to say he started that way, okay, he's what, 22? Let's say he was MAGA or he was a conservative 5 or 6 years ago. They're too young to really be anything. You're a teenager. Sure, you're going to have conservative values at 15 or 16, but you don't know what you're doing politically. So my point is, he was nothing, nada. He was nothing politically. And obviously the propaganda of the left wing, shows like Jimmy Kimmel that mock the president all the time, and that's fine. You can mock the president, but it's beyond that. If they just did jokes, that'd be funny. In fact, I think a lot of the Trump mockery is hilarious. I'm not that hypersensitive to it. I think Trump is a funny character altogether. Now, you may be watching this and getting all aggro. Oh, he's the devil. Shut the fuck up, man. Quit being so aggro over the president. It's been almost a year. Fucking relax, man. He was president for 4 years. You got your Biden experiment, weekend at Biden's, which was a mess. And now Trump's had another year. He's going to have 3 more. Shut the fuck up, man. And it's not looking good for you guys, Democrats, to get the White House after Trump's out. It already looks like JD Vance is getting teed up to hit that home run. You guys have a lot of work to do. So the last thing you need to worry about is being so hypersensitive about Trump and about his personality. You got to move past that. And I really hope you guys understand that this kind of stuff that's happening to your icons that you're worshiping, it should be a wake-up call that we're done with the lies. And he goes on to tell a joke right after, and I don't care about it. Like he basically said, that there was a joke saying that Trump, they asked a reporter, they played a clip of a reporter asking Trump about how he's feeling about Charlie Kirk, and Trump said, I'm not feeling, happy about it, something like that, blah, 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 very Trump. And then he said, and then we're going to create a ballroom here and we're building, blah, 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 does the Trump stuff. He's just Trump. He's talking. So Jimmy Kimmel cuts back and basically mocks him saying, oh, is he really grieving? Oh, really? I mean, whatever. So that's your joke. That's fine. That joke, the mocking is fine. That's free speech. That's fine. But when he said, let me help you. When he said the MAGA movement is trying to disown this guy, he's a MAGA guy, that was a lie. That's misinformation. So he has to be held accountable. Yes, it's free speech, but when you are on a television network called ABC and you guys are getting sued up the ass by Trump for lying and for manipulating things and having Stephanopoulos say things that were completely categorically fake and false and spreading misinformation in the form of a news show or an entertainment show, you're going to be held accountable by your bosses and by the people that are selling advertising. And this is really important. Jimmy Kimmel, because he's a dimwit, is learning the hard way that misinformation can be really dangerous and costly. One, we now know that people can be activated. There are sleepers out there waiting to be activated when somebody like Jimmy Kimmel, a dimwit like that, says something negative and nasty that would infuriate people on the left for more retaliation or more, I guess retaliation might not be the word if it's a left winger, but just more violence, more political violence, right? So by him saying it was a MAGA person that did it, that could trigger somebody. But again, it's still free speech, but I think that's dangerous. That's my opinion. I'm an absolutist with free speech. I think Jimmy Kimmel, who isn't funny, I think it's his right to say whatever he wants. But I'm just saying, and a lot of people don't even think it's a big deal that he said that. But what I'm saying to you is that his bosses did. And that is a really big deal. People are getting canceled by their jobs and canceled by their bosses, or however you want to call it, because they are glorifying death and they are lying about it. And that's a problem. And I got to tell you, and moving away from Jimmy Kimmel, if I saw somebody I was working with or I had hired gyrating and doing witchcraft and praising Satan and doing all these things for Charlie Kirk's death and just really hyperventilating over it and declaring war on conservatives, there are people that are wanting more deaths, all that stuff. If I saw somebody doing that and they were working with me, that's a hateful thing. And that is a violation of a lot of workplace violence regulations. If somebody is doing things and propagating violent activities outside of the workplace, that could affect you in your job, and they have a right to make a decision on that. Now, it's still covered by free speech. We haven't really talked about it. And I'm not really for that per se, like fire everybody. But my thing is, look, it's dangerous and costly. Free speech is cool, and I love it. I'm doing it right now. And if it wasn't for Charlie Kirk and patriots like that, we wouldn't have this opportunity. We have to say thank you to the military. They give us the opportunity to be buffoons and argue with each other. But if you are coming from a place of vile misinformation or you're threatening violence, you can't debate that. You can't talk to somebody that wants your demise, wants your blood to run in the street. I mean, these are things these people are saying. I'm not saying this. So you can't really argue with that. It's a concern. And if it was me and I was working with somebody and they were doing that, now look, everybody has their opinion, but I'm just saying these videos are taking it way too far. It's really glorifying violence. If I saw somebody saying, I'm glad Charlie Kirk is dead, I want his family to do all that other stuff, his family to be in pain, all that, I would be really concerned that that person was in our workplace because they like violence. They like terrible, vicious murder. They're a fan of it. It's a concern. I would be concerned. And I think it's a situation that people should really take seriously. And look, a lot of people are going to sue their jobs if they get fired because of something they said on TikTok. I know that that's a legit thing, and they could win. They could ultimately win these lawsuits. I'm not saying that they won't, because every situation is unique and it's different. But I'm just saying, look, you should say how you feel, but I don't know if it's I wouldn't recommend it, getting on TikTok or doing what Jimmy Kimmel did, getting on the internet and saying it was a MAGA assassin, because it wasn't. It was a trans activist. They're calling it a queer. They're queer. I don't want to misspeak, and I'm not trying to mock it, but it's like a queer army or some sort of a militant in Utah. They might be involved. There's hate groups that are labeling themselves specifically what they are. Like, we're hate groups, right? We're militaristic groups. And they are wanting violence against people that are resisting the trans lifestyle or who are critical of it or who have a platform that are critical of it. So we have to be honest. His mother said he went left wing and it freaked us out. Okay. He killed Charlie Kirk. I don't care if he could have been anything. But once you kill somebody like Charlie Kirk, you punch your ticket to the liberal anarchy. You're automatically in. So you can't say a right winger did it. Look, we know that's not factually correct, but you can't even lie about it and make that stick. And that's what he tried to do. So he got punked. So Jimmy Kimmel is learning his lesson. He's just a dimwit. I used to think he was funny. I've laughed at him before. I've even laughed at his Trump jokes before, but I don't think he's that funny. And I don't think Colbert was funny. I loved Colbert when he was doing his character. I absolutely was a total fan of Colbert when he was doing that character that was like a Bill O'Reilly kind of right-wing guy on whatever his show was. I forget even the Colbert Report. Was that what it was? I love that show. I watched it all the time. I thought it was awesome. I think he was even on House of Cards, did a little thing where he did a guest spot and Frank Underwood was being interviewed. It was kind of a phenomenon at the time. But then when he came over and started being so hateful against conservatives, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And it wasn't just for conservatives he was being hateful or the president. It was just the fact that he was being so hateful and lying. You know when they're lying to us, come on, man. Saturday Night Live, you know when they're doing a skit that's trying to give you a lie, that's trying to portray something that's not true. It's okay to like get in on the joke. I think it's fine to mock MAGA because they're over the top. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's funny. I think I do. I look, I like comedy. I have a sense of humor. I think everybody should be mocked that's in politics. If you have watched my podcast, you'll notice like I call Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Dimmel. I like, baby murderous Tyler because he's a little man child that picked up a gun and did something he didn't understand what he was doing, and now he's crying like a baby and hiding and wanting his mommy. Like, I will mock these people because it is interesting to really break down like what these I guess you can call them, what the personnel what the media wants you to see, like what these the facade, right, the portrayals. So I do my own mocking and sarcasm because I think it's funny. It's funny to me, right? It's who I am. So I'm okay with that. It's part of political discourse to actually mock politicians and to hold them accountable. But when you are spreading lies, it's going to come back to haunt you. And look, there are things that you can say is a lie and I'll say is not. And there are things, I mean, people say Trump lies all the time or exaggerates. And there's obviously some truth to some of these exaggerations. I'm not arguing that. And I can tell you that somebody is lying, and you can say they're telling you they're telling the truth. It's all about perspective. But when you are on a major television show and there's multiple millions of dollars in commerce being transacted through all the advertising, that's a problem, man, for your employer. So I don't know what to tell Jimmy Kimmel other than he needs to just figure that shit out. Now Trump posted let me jump back on and show you the screen really quick. So Trump, this is funny. Trump in this this post here, let me grab it. I'm my own producer. Sorry. Okay. So Trump said, "Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled." Now, I don't know if it's really canceled. I mean, I guess it is. I mean, Trump knows TV, right? He was in it for a long time. And they know people. So maybe somebody called them and said, yeah, he's suspended indefinitely, but this fucker's not coming back. He says, congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert. He had to throw that in there, if that's even possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. The ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. So, look, this is part of Trump's crusade. Trump's crusade is legit. So, Jimmy Kimmel pulled indefinitely by ABC after Nexstar drops late nighter from affiliates over Charlie Kirk comments. So, Nexstar, I believe, is the parent company that owns a massive amount of stations that show ABC programming. So I believe, we'll have to read the memo, but I believe they pulled out, which kind of was like a house of cards. We've got the memo here. Where is it at? I'm trying not to get. Oh, is that Jimmy doing a statement? Oh no, that's just a picture. Let's go. Here it is. Okay, so here's the memo. Nexstar ABC affiliates to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live. Company objects to talk show host comments on the killing of Charlie Kirk. Nexstar Media Group, they're on NASDAQ, okay? Money, commerce, today announced that the companies owned and partner television stations affiliated with the ABC television network would preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, beginning with tonight's show. Wow, it's a wrap. Nexstar strongly objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk and will replace the show with other programming. Interesting. So what that means is, if you're not in the business, is that if they run the show, if ABC was going to actually run the show, Nexstar, these groups, they were going to put another show in its place. So if you're in the area that Nexstar owns that ABC affiliate, you're not watching this show. So I believe this probably was from what I believe I heard, was that there's so many stations that it pretty much forced ABC to be like, this show's not happening, right? It's not worth it. Quote, Mr. Kimmel's comments about the death of Mr. Kirk are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse, and we do not believe they reflect the spectrum of opinions, views, or values of the local communities in which we are located, said Andrew Alford, president of Nexstar's broadcasting division. Continuing to give Mr. Kimmel a broadcast platform in the communities we serve is simply not in the public interest at the current time, and we have made the difficult decision to preempt his show, in an effort to let cooler heads prevail as we move towards towards the redemption. Is that resumption of respectful, constructive dialogue? Sorry, I don't have my glasses, and it's a little fuzzy right there when it goes down. So you get the point. Now they're saying they think the comments are very insensitive. I know the comments were a lie, and I think that's their way of saying, hey, we're not happy with what he said in general. So maybe there were some people that are like, hey, this is not true. This is a lie. We can't broadcast this. And other people might be totally fed up with him. And also, let's be real. It's his job to make people laugh. Keep that in mind. It's his job. It's Jimmy Kimmel's job to make you laugh. And apparently his bosses did not think that was fucking funny. I didn't think it was funny when I watched it. I watched it this morning and I was like, well, I'm not shocked, right? And this came after the press conference where they said to us, this is this and this is that. The sky is blue. This guy killed Charlie Kirk. Here's the evidence. He's a lunatic. He's a left-winger. He killed Charlie to silence him for the conservative movement. No more or silence him from his conservative movement, to take him off the planet on purpose. You heard the charges. So clearly we know what the truth is. And Jimmy Kimmel goes out and says something opposite. So I don't think that this company that owns all these stations, that essentially basically owns a majority share of ABC, or at least has a lot of power, felt like that was appropriate. And you read their words, right? I read them to you. We read them together. So fuck Jimmy Kimmel. I really don't care. I mean, he's a rich guy that's very famous. He's going to be fine. He's got a lot of money. He gets paid very well. He's going to be fine. Now, I don't know about his future if he doesn't change his tune, but it shows you a couple of things. It really does. And if you're just joining us, Jimmy Kimmel has been suspended from his own show. Now, who knows? Maybe ABC will be like, here's what I think could happen. I guess I'm all over the place. I was going to give you, let me go back to what I was going to say. This shows us a couple of things. There's a legitimate change. Now, in entertainment, at least in these quasi-new news entertainment shows. Everybody knows late shows used to be variety comedy shows. Well, not everybody knows, but if you know entertainment, you know the genesis of these shows. Johnny Carson was the godfather. He was a radio guy. I'll give you a little background. I read a bio on Johnny Carson. I know a lot about his life and his career. And he was very left. Johnny Carson was very left, but you would not know that, would you? You wouldn't know that. And he was a misogynist. He did not like women much, but he got married a lot of times. He smoked a lot of cigarettes. I think it was lung cancer that took him out. He liked his women. He liked his booze, and he liked his left-wing politics. He gave a lot of money to politicians. He had left-wing politicians on, but he also had Reagan on. He had a lot of conservative voices on. He had communists on. He had entertainers on. And then with all the entertainers, he also had all these different political spectrums of entertainers on, right? They all have their politics. So Johnny Carson was the blueprint. Then you had Jay Leno on. Jay Leno came in. Jay Leno was a comedian. Then you had Conan O'Brien. And you've had different people fill in and all these things. These people we're doing hard news and we're going to give you comedy. Now, yes, political comedy has always been part of what late night TV has done, but it's never morphed into we're a political show. We're going to give you some breadcrumbs of comedy. And this is what it's turned into. Even Saturday Night Live did a lot of political comedy. They made fun of every president. They made fun of all sorts of stuff that was in the news. That was helpful. It was, because you need to laugh at stuff. We've been sad, for example, with Charlie Kirk. We've been sad for like 6-7 days, man. It's been we've been really sad. I've been, and so when I saw the Jimmy Kimmel thing, I was laughing a lot. I was like, I haven't laughed like this in a while. I've needed this laugh. Now, I'm not a hater on Jimmy Kimmel, but I hate Jimmy Kimmel. Like, I just don't like him. I hate his stuff, right? I hate watching him. I don't think he's funny. He bores me. It's painful to watch him. And you know what's sad is when he did the Man Show, which was a very over-the-top, creative, misogynistic kind of guy cave kind of experience. When he did that, it was very successful. But that was a different world. And he was very funny. And I've seen him in a lot of things and thought he was really funny. But what's so weird is when I watch him do the political nastiness, it almost seems like when I'm watching him, it seems like he's really in pain when he's saying these things. Like, it's not natural. Like, he's really angry, right? Like, he's got this, it feels very like ragey to me. And even when he's telling the political jokes, it's ragey. He doesn't have that fun, lighthearted, hey, here's a joke you don't expect. It really has turned me off, and I feel sad for him because I want to laugh. I want to watch him. He's one of my favorites in the past. I really enjoyed him. Maybe favorite's a little strong, but I mean, I did like the Man Show a lot. I don't know what that means, but I mean, I'm a guy, so I thought it was a funny show. I love Comedy Central. I loved all that kind of, kind of masculine, kind of testosterone comedy, and the guy was funny at that time. But when I've watched this comedy lately, we see his clips all the time. The jokes I see just seems really ragey. It just doesn't seem like he's being funny. Like it seems like he's being forced to do it, or maybe he's done it for so long that he's kind of in this trap where he's got to do it to make people happy and get his paycheck. Maybe his bosses really want that. And I mean, I just don't know, why he's just this kind of sad. It's sad to me. So now, so that's one thing. It's always been a sad thing to me to see him be ragey about politics. So that's a lesson, right? 2, with entertainment, you got to know your brand. His brand he's turned it into being a political pundit, but that was never his brand. It never was. And I know Howard Stern's very close with him. Howard Stern put a lot of pressure on him. Howard Stern also went very left-wing ragey, which was weird. And then he started hating Trump. And I think that a lot of these big-time celebrities hating Trump has a lot to do with the fact that they all knew him and they were buddies. They hung around. They all saw him do all sorts of wild shit. He becomes the president, and he starts, basically running the world, and they're all very hyper jealous. And they did everything they could to defeat him, and they couldn't do it. So now they're being systematically canceled. Howard Stern is not going to be renewed. Colbert, he met his fate. And now Kimmel. Colbert's still on, but Kimmel got pulled, like he got shelved. So if you just saw the news and you're seeing it now, Jimmy Kimmel is suspended from his own fucking show, which is so crazy. So just look at that in the vacuum of commerce. If what you're doing politically is not helping you with your own ability to make money, you should really think that through. And if you believe in these left-wing, radical, ideological bunny trails, if you really believe a lot of this stuff that leads you to nowhere, no one's going to stop you. And you can spew it all you want. You can spew this hatred out on TikTok all you want, and Jimmy on his show all you want. But what is that doing to serve your brand? And I'm talking to entertainers, or now because I'm an actor. I'm in the business, and I've also been in other industries where people need to be comfortable with their personality, not so much your politics. And most people are okay with your politics unless you force it on them, right? I have a lot of friends that do not agree with me politically, but they're close friends. We don't get into arguments because I don't need to convince them, and they don't need to convince me, because that's not what our relationship is predicated on. But going back to commerce, if you're working a gig and your politics are ragey and nasty, and vicious, and it seems like you're cool with murder. You should be careful with that. That's all I'm saying. Look, free speech. I'm an absolutist with free speech. Say anything you want, but I'm just gonna encourage you guys that if your political speech is going to cross that line, you have to understand you're being tone deaf, and that's what that memo about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension was telling us. Is he's tone deaf. Not only is he not telling the truth, my words, but they said specifically that is not helpful. It's negative and it's nasty, and we want to have a positive, message. On top of it, earlier that day, one of the ABC reporters that was at the arraignment of charges, or not the court hearing, because that was on Zoom, but at the press conference, he gets up and says, I'm sure you saw this, that the text messages between the trans guys discussing vicious capital murder was Tinder, was just a beautiful trans love story. Two trans boys on the run from, like, Bonnie and Clyde, right? Two furry boys, two gamers, two young boys in love. Oh, it's so touchy. And they're like, even though he committed one of the worst atrocities in American history, he's kind of a sensitive guy. What an intimate portrait in their sexual, romance or whatever. Just, they're so obsessed with sex. They're so obsessed with these furry guys banging. I don't get it, man. So that was the thing that was dominating last night and this morning. This news reporter saying just preposterous things, trying to soften up this monster to try to make the trans love story now the story, right? It's just so wild. The story is murder. The story is capital murder, death penalty. The story is political violence. The story is, where are we going as a country? Not, are the furry trans boys, gamers, having a good love moment when they're discussing murder. It was just so disgusting. So that was an ABC thing. And ABC already got hit by the big lawsuit with Trump. It was a $20 million settlement. Trump's already winning. He's on a drug called Donald Trump, Charlie Sheen. He's winning. Little Charlie Sheen for you. Trump's winning. He's winning here. They're just teeing things up so he can hit it off the tee and hit home runs. Another home run for Trump. So if you're caught up in this hatred of Charlie Kirk, that's a whole nother thing that you have to have a conversation with yourself about. First of all, the guy spoke words. He did not deserve to die for it. End of story. Full stop. That not gonna talk about that anymore. There's nothing acceptable about this. Nothing acceptable about the murder. Nothing acceptable about the love story. Nothing acceptable about this. It's not normal. We cannot normalize this kind of hatred and violence. And I will say this, and I wasn't planning on going here, but it doesn't serve the trans community to try to say they're all like this, because they're not. But there is a segment of the trans community that have become very radicalized to the point of being violent and screaming and vicious and breaking things and stealing things and lying and doing anything politically to harm anyone that stands up against their lifestyle. But I want to be someone that brings, at least in what I'm doing, brings accountability to everyone when you discuss this issue. It's not a trans issue, it's a violence issue. But we have to look at the trans community and go, hey, let's have an honest conversation about why these people are killing people. Why these people in the trans community, the ones that are labeling themselves militant activists, why are they killing people for free speech? That's the conversation. And until we're willing to say there's a distinction between good people and bad people, then where are we going here? Like, we can't all, one side can't be all bad and one side can't be all good. There's good and bad in everyone. That sounded like, wasn't that Ebony? Isn't that the Michael Jackson? Paul McCartney song, right? There's good and bad in everyone. Unfortunately, and I believe there's more bad in people than good. But our job as humans is to find the good in ourselves and then help others link up with others and find the good in them. That's how I feel. Now, this is water, by the way, guys. No cocktail. I'm getting a little amped, but it's water. So ABC made a thing of it, and in that newscat, and then in the evening, Jimmy Kimmel said something that wasn't true, and his bosses didn't like it. So hats off to ABC for doing what's right for them. Because look, I haven't watched it in years, and I'm not going to watch it with Jimmy Kimmel. I turn it off. I'm offended by it because every time he gets a guest on, they bring it back to Trump. And I got to tell you, entertainment wise, it's so not funny. It's not interesting. It's very boring. And when he winds up a Trump joke, I know where he's going. So it's not funny to me. It's not interesting. Now, if you're going to do a Trump joke that I don't see coming, or an impression that's very funny, like who's that? Shane Gillis, is that his name? The guy, he does a really good Trump. It's very funny. He says preposterous, mean Trump things. It's really funny. That's kind of thing you don't see coming. You're waiting for the next line he delivers because it's so funny. It's on the nose funny. That's what you should be doing, Jimmy Kimmel and these other comedians. Don't get up and just talk about violence and death. It's not funny to people. It's not funny. Now, there are some comedians that have brands that there's that you would know where they do dark comedy. And in the old days, they would call it sick comedy. Like Lenny Bruce was a sick comic. It's comic. They used to call it sick comedy. Look it up. So sick comics are now kind of, we call them like dark, edgy comics. But that was kind of a brand, right? Lenny Bruce and Carlin, they were sick comics, right? They had political commentary, but it was funny, and they actually made political statements. Lenny Bruce, for example, was attacked for his free speech, and he was prosecuted and put in jail for his speech, and he was a legend and another example of someone in America who fought for our free speech rights. But at least they knew the boundaries of it's an art. They knew what was funny and what was taking it too far, and they knew their audience. I've watched hours and hours of video and also, read books on comedians and studied them and studied the art and political comedy. That's something I've looked into and researched it. Like, how does this work? And I'll just say this, Jimmy Kimmel breaks all the rules, and because he's not trying to be funny, he's just trying to be vicious. And nobody tunes, honestly, I will say this, if Trump had a point, Trump said low ratings, blah, blah, blah. If people had really been tuning in for Jimmy Kimmel, they wouldn't have pulled him because cash is king. There's also that in America. So Jimmy Kimmel, he's fried, and he was pulled by ABC indefinitely. Now, here's what's I'll end with this. Here's where this could go. One, definitely means that it's going to be way past this whole Charlie Kirk pain. We got to get past the pain. So that could be any time, right? And people are already soured on this. They're soured. The people are already, the companies, they're sensing that people are souring on celebrating the murder. And I think Jimmy in a certain way celebrated the murder by lying about it. He's just not being honest. But that's not why they said they pulled him. They said they pulled him because he's tone deaf, and they didn't like what he said because they thought it was going to inflame things, make it worse. So look, Jimmy's job is to be funny. That he didn't do his job, so he got pulled for not doing his job. I'm sure he's still going to get paid. Who knows? But he got pulled. Now here's where we're going from here. He could either quit, make a statement, and then do his own streaming show, take it to the streets, which a lot of people do, and he could be successful. Megyn Kelly did that. Megyn Kelly was canceled for political things and some things she said that people didn't like, and she said some wild shit that was kind of odd. It was edgy. All right, I'm not going to defend anything she said. Look it up. But she lost her talk show, and then the Fox thing, she left them. And she's doing her own thing, and she's the number one podcast, the number one show on the internet right now. So, he could blow up. He could go and do his own show, a podcast, and do really well. There's that, because there are people that now will be emboldened to support him, right? So this could be a good thing for him. The other side of it is ABC could be really looking to change this and make it a different show. Get somebody new in there, break his contract, make a lot of money. They could have been looking for a reason to get him out because his ratings were so bad. And also, advertisers were probably complaining. And who knows, maybe advertisers went nuts this morning and did a big conference call for ABC or this Next Star group and said, we're not paying you for this shit, and the ratings are down, and or we're going to pay you less. Maybe they went back to the table to renegotiate deals. This obviously has dollar signs attached to it. So my prediction is maybe he'll step down and they'll get somebody new. That might be cool. So that'll be interesting, and maybe we can get back to comedy. Let's get back to comedy. So anyway, that's my response. I got things to do, but love you guys. God bless you. I want to invite you to please subscribe before I let you go. If you liked what you're watching, please like and share. Do a repost. That goes a long way for the algorithm. It tells the internet gods that you like what we're doing, and I appreciate that. Please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, give me a subscription. Twitch or X, give me a follow. That'd be cool. Got some really cool interviews coming up to talk about what's going on in the world right now. Really excited about that. My slate is now full for the next month, I think, of really cool guests. So you're getting a lot of me solo, but trust me, if you don't like me, you're going to love my guests. So we're going to be talking about some uplifting stuff and talk about the future according to the current events. Follow me on Rumble, man. Subscribe on Rumble. The Rumble crowd is growing, and I appreciate your support. It doesn't cost you anything. Also, I'm on I'm on TikTok at Real Jason J Daniel. We talk sports. We do a sports live on the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We do college football too. So check me out. Follow me on TikTok. I do sarcastic roasting of sports. That's a lot of fun. If you know my brand, you know that's totally on my brand. And I would love a YouTube subscription, dudes. I'm almost at 1,000 followers on YouTube, and that's really cool. I just put that one up. And again, this is Jason J. Daniel. Via con Dios, go with God, and do something fun, man. Find some good comedy, and find a show, or an old show, or a new show, or a movie that you can laugh at today. Try to shake it off, man. But yeah, but thanks for watching. Check me out in the evenings. I'm going to try to, I may take tomorrow off. We'll see. But I will be podcasting in the afternoons and evenings whenever there's breaking news. I'll be there for you because we need to talk about it. And free speech is paramount. God bless you guys. Take care. Thanks for watching.